Hi, I'm Matt from hockeyreviews.ca, and this is the true Catalyst PX hockey sticks player version, specifically snapshot review. So unfortunately, I cannot use this because it's not mine. I'm just borrowing it from a store, but I want to talk about it because it is the newest crazy lightweight stick that True has, which I don't think they advertise it as their lightest stick. They advertise it as their lightest Catalyst stick because their Project X was advertised lighter. But this is a $400 stick Canadian because it is that special crazy lightweight version and kind of limited version. So we're going to take a look at this really quickly and talk about it, talk about the specs, talk about what the shooting of this was and my limited ability to test this because unfortunately I can't get it on the ice. But before we begin all that, if you live in the United States and you want to support the channel so I can do real reviews and not just snapshots reviews like this video, check out the link in the description to Pure Hockey. Clicking that link, making a purchase gives me a kickback so I keep making content and doing more actual reviews and like using this stuff on ice and testing durability. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel, check out Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee. Everything through there comes right back into the channel so I can again keep making more content and doing more reviews. So before we kind of jump into this, I'm going to give a bit of an overview of what the true Catalyst PX is and what like the PX in general is, because True is kind of doing something unique now. I shouldn't say unique because Bauer is doing it too, but True just brings it out there right in the open. So a few years ago, Bauer came out with their ADV line. Their first stick was, I think, the Bauer Vapor ADV, and it was their lightest stick ever. It was like one of the first sub 380 retail sticks. And it had pretty big fanfare to it, and it was pretty popular, and it was famous at least. A lot of people bought it, sold out pretty quick. Bauer has kept doing that with the kind of their green accented sticks. They've had it for Supreme, they've had it for Nexus with their ER spine, they've had it for the Vapor with the ADV, and finally the last one so far is the Bauer Sling, which we can see here, which I'll be doing a review very shortly of. This has kind of spawned off other companies doing similar things where they have lightweight, not really tech demos as much as Bauer is. Bauer is tech demos because it kind of has, like this has the hole in the blade as you can kind of see right here. And they've done some crazy shaft shapes with their sticks on these ADVs before it kind of came out to retail. For other companies like Warrior, which had their covert, I can't remember what it was called now, but I'll put it on the screen. They had that stick, which was a lightweight stick and a limited edition and more expensive, but didn't really do any tech demo stuff. And honestly, it didn't really do that well. It was, you could find it in stores months after the fact. And then True decided to do the same thing in the last generation. I think it was based on the AX9 stick called the Project X. We did a video of it. You can see it up here. That stick, specifically that video, caused quite a bit of criticism, especially from True, where a True engineer actually talked and made a comment about that because the stick honestly was nowhere near the weight that they advertised it at, which was 355 grams. The one I had specifically, I weighed it and it was 374. Now that was with the plug at the end, and they said you have to take that out in order to weigh sticks. But I disagree with that since you use that when you're using a stick anyway, so you might as well keep it in there. Regardless, taking that out, the stick was 368 grams, which is still not close to 355 grams advertised. So True's response was basically there's a variance of sticks for weight, so it can kind of go through a wider range of things, and that was within tolerance. So I ended up measuring, I think, 8 other Project X sticks, and none of them were closer to 355. I think the lowest I saw was a 365, which isn't terrible, but that is without the butt end plug, and that was one of like 8 sticks I measured, and all of them were heavier than that. So disappointed in that sense. Regardless, True is now doing something slightly different, where we have the Catalyst PX, and this PX line is going to continue in the future. So the stick before this was the True Catalyst 9X, and then it coming up in the future is going to be called a True Hazardous. Instead of the AX series, it's going to be called the Hazardous. And they're going to have 2 sticks at the very top. They're going to have a 9X, like the Catalyst 9X, and a PX, and it's already in the catalog. It's already out there. So again, that PX is going to be that ultra lightweight one. And from what I've seen, it's going to be $400 again or more for that PX. I can't remember. It hasn't actually been officially announced, but I saw some rumblings about it. Now, that is kind of what True has done and what this stick is and kind of what True is doing with their lines. And they're also doing a goalie stick version of this, which is different than other companies because no one else is doing a really lightweight goalie stick version. So just to give you an idea of what True is doing with this PX line and what this PX is kind of the evolution of the Project X. Now, talking about the non-important stuff on this stick, first and foremost is the looks. And I think it looks solid as well as with the 9X. It's this gold with honeycomb and kind of chrome look to it. And it looks pretty good in my opinion. You can see some of it down there. So it's really noticeable what it is. Since Bauer has gone like that green and gold, this is very noticeable that it is just a true catalyst. No one else really has this gold anymore. And honestly, I think it looks pretty good. And you can see how it's kind of the asymmetrical there. It just says catalyst, swap it over true, and then it's the other way at the top there, as you can see. And it has that honeycomb look through it right here, which you can kind of feel textured, but it's not as much textured as on the goalie stick. It's just, I think their spray is pretty light, so you can feel the little graphics kind of behind it, but it's not crazy or anything. And it's not a textured finish by all means, which is something I really like. And this one doesn't really have for that, but the look of it is that shiny gold look all the way through. And I think it looks pretty good. And while gold is kind of like out there and loud, it does look pretty clean because the design isn't totally like ugly like the green and gold that's on the Bauer Supremes. While we continue on to the look of everything, this is kind of part of the blade, but also we're just going to talk about this really quick. It does have kind of a shark skin finish to the blade itself. You can probably hear that. So that is kind of new on this. This was not on what the AX one was, and I don't think it was on the Project X. I'd have to go back and take a look. But regardless, so this does have a shark skin blade on here, and it's kind of part of the look aspect just because I want to point this one piece out. We'll talk about the rest of the blade later. But you can kind of see how there's like there's a layer on top that is kind of the design of the actual blade itself, and you can kind of see it better right here. It's easily seeable in person that it has like that, or at least it looks like it has a little piece on top just for aesthetic purposes, because you can't see the weave kind of going through the edges and it just kind of stops. But the weird thing about this stick, and unlike the goalie stick, which has this awesome X in it, as you can see, there is no X in the player stick for some reason. So that's a little odd to me. You'd think that would kind of come over. They did this on the AX9 for the player and the goalie stick. So I kind of really wish they did that on there. Obviously, it's nothing important and it's nothing big, and it will make no difference in the actual stick itself. It just looks cool. And if they're already doing it for some of their products, why not do it all the way through? Because that is one of the coolest looking features on a stick that, again, has zero impact on anything, but it looks cool. And come on, everyone likes that. So the shaft shape of this stick is square with slightly concave corner or sidewalls. And what I mean by that is it's like square enough and it looks flat enough, but when you put your fingers in it, especially on the inside, you can feel a slight roundness to it, just ever so slightly. On the outside, it honestly feels pretty flat all the way through. You can't really feel it as much, but when you go on the other side, you can definitely feel it just a little bit, and your fingers kind of fit in there just a little bit like that. But it definitely does have more square sidewalls, especially compared to the AX line. So that is a definitely different thing there. And the AX line also does have a lot more concave sides on it, as you can see like right here. You can definitely feel it in your fingers, and I'll go to a separate view in a second to kind of show this off a little bit better. But you can definitely feel that concave inside piece on the AX9 and the rounded corners a lot more on the AX9. And compared to, say, the Supreme, which we have an ultrasonic here, which has a super square shaft shape, you can really feel this in your hand and how much, not like more space it takes up, but it really just feels like it's more locked in, and you can really feel the sidewalls on there, which again, square shape, but not super aggressive like on the Supreme, more like on the Super Tax. So here is what should be a pretty good view of like what the shaft shape kind of is. You can see it's definitely more squared off than what is on here, but the concave part is definitely more noticeable on the inside here. You can really run your finger on it and feel it, where this one feels pretty flat all the way through. And again, I'm really sorry if this goes out of focus and stuff. This is extremely hard to actually film in this area, and I'll try to take photos if it doesn't work right. But with that said, the interesting thing about this PX stick on the catalyst is you can see the sidewalls and stuff aren't that much thinner. They are thinner. You can definitely see the thickness difference on the AX9 compared to the PX. This would have been nice if I had a Catalyst 9X here, but unfortunately I don't. I can't compare them. But it's slightly thinner, but it's not like a crazy amount. And when we saw on the ADV sticks, you could really see the thinness of the ADV sticks in the past compared to their retail counterparts. And this one isn't that crazy thinness, so it's kind of surprising. Again, a little bit different there, but nothing out of the world, like out of this world, and doesn't look that different. So kind of interesting that True managed to save so much weight on this without using a completely like crazy thinner shaft all the way through. So the next part on this stick is the grip itself, and it's kind of disappointing, which I feel like has been a constant thing for True for grips, and I'll show a little bit more of why that is in a second. But at the same time, it feels actually pretty nice. There is no textured grip here at all, which is super disappointing to me because textured grips are awesome. I mentioned that the honeycomb is slightly textured and you can kind of feel a little bit, but it doesn't really show off in camera that well. But it's only slightly textured because I feel like the grip spray they use is so thin that you can feel the like designs behind it. CCM is kind of similar in that sense, but CCM is going to a more textured route on their sticks, which is nice. But this grip is like, it's called their soft feel grip, and honestly it does feel really soft, and that's kind of why I said it's nice but also disappointing. When you move it down, it feels good and everything like that. Problem with this stick and the grip and kind of durability, which we'll talk about in a second, is how bad True stuff kind of just deals with. So this is also a similar grip to that, and you can see it's peeling off. Now this stick is 2 years old. This is the AX9 that I reviewed, and it was actually a friend of mine's stick. Here it is, and you can see the grip all peeling off. So this felt great when like it was originally new, but all the edges, basically all along the stick here, the grip is totally gone. So wherever your fingers are and hands rub, the grip is gone and it's peeling. I don't see that often with sticks. I've seen it a bunch with Trues, which is telling. Also with an old STX, but how does this keep happening? Like, that's crazy how that happens. And when you put this on a stick now, it feels like trash because you do have like, you can feel it kind of coming up and it feels really bad and you can feel the edges. It's just not nice. With that said, using our trusty Bauer Pro Stock glove for grip feel, doing this feels honestly awesome. It feels so nice. That soft grip feeling does really come through, and it really does feel very, very nice on the palms and moving it through. It's not too tacky, but it feels smooth and it feels just grippy enough. If this was textured, I feel like this would feel absolutely amazing, but this does feel so good going like this and moving like this that I understand kind of why they go with that soft grip feel, and that's what they talk about, because this does feel a little softer than other companies, just feels so nice in the hands. Comparing it to Bauer, which honestly is the best at retail grips currently, the smoothness and everything is like, it honestly grips less than what the Bauer does, but it just feels nice in your hands. It's like a smoother feeling all the way through, and it's really nice. Bauer still has, like I said, one of the best grips on the market in terms of durability, thickness, and all that, and it feels great. Trues is super comfortable, feels excellent, and I gotta give him credit for that, but durability is something I'm really, really worried about, because like we saw what happened on the AX9, and you can see like bubbles here. You can see this like weird seam right here for the grip, and it almost feels like you could pull off. And it's just, I don't really trust True in that sense, so it's kind of disappointing, but it feels excellent right now. Just how long will it last is a question mark. And that leads me on to the durability of True sticks in general. Look, every hockey stick breaks, and this is one of the reasons why I'm sad that this isn't an actual review and this is only a snapshot review. There's a reason I haven't put like a review of this stick out yet, is because other people were able to do a review when it first came out. I figured I'd do a more long-term review of usage of it. This would love to actually test and use and see how long it lasts. Like I said, I play defense, I block shots, see if this thing holds up. True is the only stick I've ever broken on my very first skate on my first shift. It was a warranty cover, they covered it, they fixed it, that's fine. But the amount of people I have talked to who have Catalyst sticks, who have broken multiple ones of those, this stick broke, but this was over like 2 years old at that point. So this stick honestly held up pretty good, and I can't really complain about that besides the actual grip on there. I just can't trust the durability of this stick. And True, going with like the light, crazy light weight of it, even though the top, like you could see, it wasn't super, super thin all the way through, but I just can't trust the durability of this stick to really be like confident in it at all. I hate taking people's words in terms of how durable a product is or how much a stick breaks, because you don't hear the people who like don't have issues with it. The people who do have issues with something will talk about it and will make it known that they had issues with it. So it's kind of hard for me to judge in that sense. But from my personal experience of just seeing people I know use True products and break True sticks, I'm a bit worried that this will kind of go down that route. And that's one of the reasons why I can't justify spending $400 on this stick. If it breaks, yeah, I might get my warranty within 30 days. But if it lasts not as long as 30 days and it breaks, you're out of luck, and that's a lot of money to drop on something I'm not too confident in. Now, going into the weight of this stick, I have to give True a ton of credit here, because this stick is basically the lightest stick I've seen in my hands in terms of a retail product. And unlike the Project X stick, this one actually came close to its advertised weight. So this stick ended up weighing 370 grams with the plug, but again, True always says take the plug out, and while I don't agree with that because you use the plug when you play with it. Without the plug, it's 362 grams, which is 2 grams within what their advertised weight is, which is solid. 360 grams for a retail stick is pretty nuts. You have the more expensive price and maybe less durability, but that is crazy that True hit that, so I got to give them a ton of credit for that. And just for some comparisons here, the Project X was advertised at 355. The specific one I had was 374 with the plug, 368 without it. So this is literally what True is advertising and is really close. And when you feel this stick and the balance of this stick feels lighter than anything else I have by far. It's honestly very impressive how lightweight this stick is, and it just feels awesome. So the balance point on it feels like it's basically just right here at this U at the bottom of the shaft. So you can see there's the blade, and that's kind of the balance point right there. But it feels excellent in your hands, and it just, when I'm using it, when I was stick handling with it, when I was taking some shots with it, it felt fantastic. So the balance is definitely on point there. It didn't feel too blade light. Unfortunately, I can't get this on the ice and actually use it with everything like that, but using it, it didn't feel too blade light. It felt well balanced and pretty well done, which blade lightness is a thing that sometimes companies go too light, and that blade suffers, that feel of the blade, and like the blade basically just balance suffers. This feels excellent and does a really good job. Some companies, like the Trigger 5 Pro, felt like this, where the blade didn't exist, and it was pretty disappointing. This one feels awesome, so I got to give them a ton of credit there. Now, before we jump into the fun stuff with shooting, if you're in Canada and you want to support the channel so I keep making more content and doing real reviews and not just snapshot reviews like this, check out the link in the description to Hockey Supremacy. Clicking that link, making a purchase gives me a kickback, help support the channel so I can keep making more content and doing real reviews and testing like durability and stuff like this instead of just talking about it from shooting in my basement. It'd be greatly appreciated. Now, shooting this stick, I have to give True a ton of credit for because this stick felt fantastic to shoot. It didn't take a ton of effort to load, so it wasn't like the old Supreme mid kicks that you really have to like put effort into it to shoot. Pretty little effort for a mid kick, and that was pretty awesome. Accuracy and everything, you can see me missing a ton of the low right ones. It's really hard for me to hit the low right on this, but besides that, accuracy felt really good. Generally going is pretty close to where I wanted it. I'm not a sniper by any means, but I was putting a decent amount behind these shots, and the accuracy was pretty, like I was pretty happy with it overall. Again, like I mentioned, balance was great, shooting felt great, and I gotta give him a ton of credit for that. I never really got to use the 9X, so I couldn't really talk about how that was shooting, but compared to old True sticks, I really feel like this is a step up. I still think CCM is a step above everyone else for shooting and overall stick quality, at least for like weight and everything, but this stick shoots really well, feels really well, well balanced, and I'm really impressed with it. Unfortunately, I can't take a slap shot with this stick, which is kind of the point of the True mid kicks or mid kicks kind of in general, but shooting, like I mentioned, felt really solid, came off with little effort. Doesn't feel like a low kick by all means, but it was a really solid mid kicking stick. Now for blade pinginess and basically vibrations in the blade and how the blade feel is. Again, this is hard to talk to on camera and stuff like that, and I haven't cut open those blades yet. Really the only thing I can kind of show on this is just the sound of a puck hitting it, and that's kind of the closest that we'll get. This blade feels kind of pingy, but not extreme. So the pingiest stick I've ever used was the AS3 Pro, which this is nowhere near that. This is kind of slightly pingier than a Nexus, which is basically my favorite blade feeling stick there is. Way less pinginess than on the AS3 Pro, so it's kind of a nice in between there, probably closer to jet speed than anything else, but felt good in my hands. Unfortunately, again, the big thing about blade feel is when you're passing, making passes, blocking passes, taking hard passes, can't really replicate that in my basement, unfortunately, so I can't talk about this all that much, but it felt good when shooting, and when I was just stick handling down there, everything felt nice. Not my favorite, but pretty decent overall. So that's about it for the review of the True Catalyst PX stick. Very impressive in terms of specs. True really got the weight down on it as advertised, and that's pretty awesome. Grip feels really solid, blade feels pretty good, and shots were pretty damn good. So overall, a pretty solid feeling stick, and it's basically the lightest retail stick on the market there is. Unfortunately, I can't test it any more of that. Can't talk about durability because I got to bring it back. So I would love to do that. But if you want to see me review stuff like this, it would be greatly helpful if you reach out to True and say, hey, I would love to see Hockey Reviews do a review on the PX, of like on-ice review of your sticks. And you never know what might happen with that. Interesting stick, questionable durability. Please let me know below in the comments if you have any experience with the PX, if you've broken it or have used it for so long, or if you know people that have broken it, it'd be greatly appreciated, because I don't really have any info on that, and all I can go by is people comments. So if other people see this video and are questioning it and see all those comments in there, it would be greatly helpful to them. Again, thank you very much for watching this video. Remember to subscribe to me on YouTube, follow me, and links are in the description. Also, remember, if you're in the United States, check out the link in the description to Pure Hockey. If you're in Canada, check out Hockey Supremacy. Clicking those links, making a purchase, give me a kickback. Again, help sort channels so I can hopefully do real reviews of sticks and not just these snapshot reviews. Otherwise, check out Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon. Everything goes through there, always comes back into the channel, and would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for watching, and take it easy.
You're watching HockeyReviews.ca.